The notebook hit the kitchen counter with a soft thud, its pages splaying open under Daniel's trembling fingers. He hadn't meant to read it. God knows he wasn't that kind of man. But there it was, Anna's neat handwriting staring up at him. I can't tell him. Not after what I've done. He'd never look at me the same. His heart pounded as he snapped the cover shut, the words burning in his mind. Who was him? And what had Anna, the quiet nanny who'd won his daughter's heart, done that she couldn't confess? He froze as her footsteps echoed down the staircase. Anna, with her soft braid and guarded smile, appeared in the doorway, oblivious to the secret he'd just glimpsed. "Lily's asleep," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. Daniel's grip tightened on the counter. What was she hiding, and why did it feel like it was about him? The rain tapped lightly against the windows of Daniel's Connecticut estate, a sprawling mansion that felt more like a museum than a home. 2 months ago, he'd been at his wits' end. His ex-wife, Claire, had walked away from their marriage 2 years prior, leaving him with their 8-year-old daughter, Lily, and a void he couldn't fill. Lily's laughter had faded, her eyes carrying a weight no child should bear. Daniel, a 35-year-old tech millionaire, could negotiate billion-dollar deals, but he couldn't coax a smile from his little girl. He needed help, someone to bring light back into her world. That's when the agency sent Anna Harper. "She's reliable, great with kids," the agency rep had said over the phone. "Just keeps to herself." Anna arrived with a single suitcase, her auburn hair tied back, her clothes plain but neat. She was 29, soft-spoken, with eyes that seemed to carry stories she'd never share. Daniel didn't press her for details. Her references were glowing, and Lily needed stability, not his curiosity. Within days, Anna had Lily giggling over bedtime stories, her small hands tugging at Anna's braid, begging for one more chapter. Daniel watched from the sidelines, grateful but intrigued. Anna never spoke of her past, her family, or why she'd taken a job so far from wherever she'd come from. She was a puzzle, one he hadn't realized he was trying to solve until that notebook fell into his hands. That night, as the rain softened, Daniel stood in the kitchen, the notebook now tucked under a stack of mail where Anna wouldn't notice it had been moved. His mind raced. The words he'd read weren't just a confession. They were a crack in the wall Anna had built around herself. He wanted to ask her, to demand what she meant, but something stopped him. Maybe it was the way she'd looked at Lily tonight, tucking the blanket around her with a tenderness that made Daniel's chest ache. Or maybe it was the way her eyes flickered to his sometimes, like she was searching for something she couldn't name. "Everything okay?" Anna asked, tilting her head as she noticed his silence. He forced a smile. "Yeah, just long day." She nodded, grabbing her coat from the hook by the door. "I'll head out then. See you tomorrow." "Anna," he said, the word escaping before he could stop it. She paused, her hand on the doorknob. "You're good with Lily. She's happier with you here." Her lips curved into a small, genuine smile, the kind that lit up her face for a fleeting moment. "She's a special kid," she said softly, then slipped out into the night. Daniel stared at the closed door, the notebook's words echoing in his head. "I can't tell him. Not after what I've done." He didn't know what she'd done, but he knew one thing. He wasn't letting this go. The next morning, the house was alive with Lily's chatter. "Anna, can we make pancakes?" "The ones with the smiley faces?" she begged, bouncing on her toes in the kitchen. Anna laughed, tying an apron around her waist. "Only if you help me flip them." "Deal. Deal." Lily squealed, dragging a stool to the counter. Daniel lingered in the doorway, his coffee mug warm in his hands. Watching them together, Lily's grin and his patient guidance felt like a glimpse of something he'd lost long ago. His marriage to Claire had been a whirlwind of passion that crumbled under the weight of his work and her restlessness. She'd left without a backward glance, and Daniel had buried himself in his company, hoping success would fill the hole. It hadn't. But this, Anna and Lily, laughing over a bowl of batter, felt like a step toward something better. Still, the notebook gnawed at him. He'd moved it to the living room shelf, out of sight but not out of mind. What had Anna done that she couldn't confess? Was it a mistake, a regret, or something deeper? And why did the possibility that it involved him make his pulse quicken? Over the next few weeks, Daniel found himself watching Anna more closely, not in a suspicious way, but with a curiosity he couldn't shake. She was gentle but firm with Lily, coaxing her through homework tantrums with a patience Daniel envied. She'd leave little notes for him on the fridge. Lily needs new art supplies, or she had a great day at school, small acts of care that made the house feel less empty. But she never lingered after her shift, always slipping out with a quiet goodnight before he could ask her anything personal. One evening, after Lily was asleep, Daniel found Anna in the backyard, sitting on the swing set he'd built for Lily years ago. The moonlight caught her profile, and for a moment, she looked younger, unguarded, like the weight she carried had lifted. "Mind if I join you?" he asked, stepping onto the grass. She startled, then smiled. "It's your swing set." He sat on the swing beside her, the chains creaking under his weight. "You're good with her, you know. Lily, she hasn't been this happy in a long time." Anna's fingers tightened around the swing's chain. "She makes it easy. She's got your heart, I think." He chuckled, surprised. "You think so? She's kind, curious, a little stubborn." Anna's eyes met his, a spark of playfulness in them. "Sound familiar?" He laughed, the sound foreign to his own ears. For the first time in years, he felt like himself. Not the CEO, not the broken ex-husband, just Daniel. They sat in silence for a while, the night air cool between them. He wanted to ask about the notebook, about her past, but the moment felt too fragile, like pushing too hard would shatter it. Instead, he said, "You don't talk about yourself much." She looked away, her voice soft. Not much to tell. He didn't believe her, but he didn't press. Not yet. The turning point came a week later. Daniel was working late in his home office when Lily burst in, her eyes wide with panic. "Anna's crying," she whispered. Daniel followed her to the living room, where Anna sat on the couch, her face buried in her hands. The notebook was on a coffee table, open to a page he hadn't seen. He caught a glimpse of the words, "I left it all behind, but it still follows me." Before Anna snatched it up, her cheeks flushed. "Lily, go to bed," Daniel said gently, kneeling beside Anna. "What's wrong?" "It's nothing," she said, her voice shaky. "I'm fine." "You're not fine." His tone was firm but kind. "Talk to me." She shook her head, clutching the notebook to her chest. "You wouldn't understand." "Try me," he said, his hand brushing hers for a fleeting moment. Her eyes met his, and for the first time, he saw past her walls. Fear, shame, but also a flicker of hope. I can't," she whispered, standing abruptly. "I need to go." She fled to the guest room, leaving Daniel with more questions than answers. The notebook, her tears, the words he'd read, they all pointed to a truth she wasn't ready to share. But as he stood alone in the living room, he realized something else. He cared about her, more than he should, and that scared him as much as her secret did. What had Anna done, and why couldn't she tell him? The answer was closer than he thought, but it would change everything. Anna's footsteps echoed in Daniel's mind long after she'd fled to the guest room. The notebook clutched to her chest like a shield. Her words, "I left it all behind, but it still follows me," hung in the air, heavy with a truth he couldn't grasp. He stood in the living room, the lamplight casting long shadows across the hardwood floor. What had she done that left her so broken? And why did the sight of her tears make his chest tighten, like he'd failed her somehow? The next morning, the house felt different. Lily was at school, and Anna moved through her routine with a forced calm, her eyes red-rimmed, but her smile in place for Daniel's sake. He caught her in the kitchen, rinsing dishes, her braids swinging gently as she worked. "Anna," he said, leaning against the counter, "about last night." "I'm fine," she cut in, her voice sharp but brittle. She didn't look at him, focusing instead on scrubbing a plate that was already clean. It was just a bad moment. Won't happen again. He wanted to push, to tell her he'd seen the notebook, that he'd read enough to know she was carrying something heavy. But the way her hands trembled stopped him. Instead, he grabbed a dish towel and started drying the plates beside her, their shoulders inches apart. "You don't have to talk," he said quietly, "but I'm here if you do." Her hand stilled, and for a moment he thought she might say something. But she just nodded, her lips pressed tight, and turned back to the sink. The silence wasn't uncomfortable, though. It felt like a bridge, fragile but real, between them. Over the next few weeks, Daniel found himself seeking out those small moments with Anna. A shared laugh when Lily insisted on teaching them how to draw a unicorn. A late-night coffee when Anna stayed to help with Lily's science project, their hands brushing as they passed glue sticks. Each moment chipped away at the walls between them, but the notebook remained a shadow in Daniel's mind. He hadn't touched it since that night, but he couldn't forget the words or the way Anna's face had crumpled when she saw it open. Lily, meanwhile, was thriving. Anna had a knack for turning ordinary days into adventures, building blanket forts, baking cookies with mismatched sprinkles, even convincing Lily to try broccoli by calling it tiny trees. Daniel watched his daughter come alive, her giggles filling the house like music. But he also noticed how Anna's eyes softened when she looked at Lily, like she was seeing more than just a little girl. There was a longing there, a story she wasn't telling. One Saturday, Daniel came home early from a meeting to find Anna and Lily in the backyard, sprawled on a picnic blanket, staring at the clouds. Lily was pointing out shapes, a heart, a dragon, while Anna listened, her laughter soft and unguarded. Daniel paused at the patio door, his tie loosened, feeling like an intruder in his own home. "Dad!" Lily spotted him and waved. "Come find a cloud that looks like you." Anna sat up, brushing grass from her jeans, her cheeks flushing. "She's got a wild imagination," she said almost shyly. Daniel joined them, lying back on the blanket, the grass cool beneath him. "All right, Lil, what's my cloud?" "That one." Lily pointed to a fluffy, lopsided shape. "It's big and serious, but kind of soft in the middle." Anna stifled a laugh, and Daniel raised an eyebrow. "Soft, huh?" "You agree with that, Anna?" She met his gaze, a playful spark in her eyes. Maybe a little. For a moment, the world was just the three of them. Lily's laughter, Anna's smile, the warmth of the afternoon sun. Daniel felt something shift inside him, a flicker of hope he hadn't allowed himself since Claire left. But the moment was fleeting. Anna's smile faded as she glanced at her watch. "I should get dinner started," she said, standing abruptly. As she walked away, Daniel noticed the notebook tucked under her arm, its leather cover worn but ever present. He wanted to ask about it, to know why it held so much of her, but Lily's voice pulled him back. "Dad, do you think Anna's happy here?" The question caught him off guard. "I hope so," he said, ruffling her hair. "She makes you happy, doesn't she?" Lily nodded, but her brow furrowed. "Sometimes she looks sad when she thinks I'm not watching." Daniel's stomach twisted. He'd seen it too. The fleeting shadows in Anna's eyes, the way she'd pause mid-sentence, lost in thought. He resolved to find out what haunted her, not just for his curiosity, but for Lily. And, if he was honest, for himself. The opportunity came unexpectedly. It was a rainy evening, and Anna had stayed late to help Lily finish a school project, a model of the solar system that had turned into a glittery disaster. Daniel found them in the dining room, surrounded by paint and styrofoam planets. Anna was wiping glue from Lily's cheek, her laughter soft but tired. "You're a saint for dealing with this mess," Daniel said, leaning against the doorway. Anna shrugged, a small smile tugging at her lips. "It's not so bad. She's proud of it." Lily beamed, holding up a lopsided Jupiter. "Look, Dad, Anna helped me make the rings." "It's perfect, kiddo," Daniel said, but his eyes were on Anna. "You staying for dinner?" "I'm ordering pizza." She hesitated, then nodded. "Sure. Pepperoni. Only if you say it's the best topping," he teased. She laughed, the sound light and real. "Deal." Dinner was simple, pizza boxes on the table, Lily chattering about school, Anna listening with that quiet warmth Daniel had come to rely on. After Lily went to bed, Anna lingered, helping him clear the table. The rain had stopped, leaving the house quiet except for the faint drip of water from the eaves. "Anna," Daniel said, setting a plate in the sink. "I've been meaning to ask. You're great with Lily, but you don't talk about yourself. Where'd you come from before this?" Her hands froze on a glass, her shoulders tensing. "Just a small town. Nothing special." He leaned against the counter, studying her. "You don't give much away, do you?" She met his gaze, her eyes searching his. "Some things are better left alone." The air between them thickened, charged with unspoken questions. Daniel took a step closer, his voice low. I saw your notebook, Anna. Not on purpose, but I read a page. You wrote about something you did, something you can't tell him. I need to know what that means. Her face paled, and she stepped back, clutching the glass so tightly he thought it might shatter. You had no right, she whispered, her voice trembling with anger and fear. I know, he said, raising his hands. I'm sorry, but I care about you, about whatever's got you so scared. Her eyes filled with tears, and she shook her head. You don't get it, Daniel. You don't know me. Then let me, he said, his voice soft but urgent. Whatever it is, I can handle it. She laughed, a bitter sound that cut through him. You think you can fix everything, don't you? The big shot millionaire, saving the day. But you can't fix this. She turned to leave, but Daniel caught her wrist gently, his touch stopping her. Anna, please. I'm not trying to fix you. I see you. The way you are with Lily, with me. You're not just a nanny. Not to us. Her breath hitched, and for a moment, she didn't pull away. Her eyes locked on his, and the distance between them felt like nothing at all. Then she yanked her hand free, her voice barely a whisper. I ran away, Daniel. From everything, my family, my life. I hurt people I loved because I couldn't stay. And I'm terrified it'll happen again. Before he could respond, she grabbed her coat and fled into the night, leaving the notebook on the counter. Daniel stood frozen, her words sinking in. She'd run from her past, but what had she done? And why did it feel like she was running from him now? He picked up the notebook, his fingers tracing the worn cover. He could open it, read the truth she wouldn't speak. But he set it down, unopened, and sank into a chair. For the first time in years, he felt something stronger than his own pain, a need to protect Anna, to show her she didn't have to run anymore. The next morning, Anna didn't show up. Lily was confused, her small voice asking, "Where's Anna?" as Daniel scrambled to get her ready for school. His calls to Anna went unanswered, her texts unread. Panic crept in, not just for Lily, but for the ache in his chest at the thought of Anna gone for good. He drove to her apartment, a modest building on the edge of town. When she opened the door, her eyes were puffy, her hair loose and tangled. Daniel, she said, startled. What are you doing here? You didn't show up, he said, stepping inside. Lily's worried. I'm worried. She crossed her arms, looking away. I need to quit. It's better for everyone. No, he said, his voice firm. Not for Lily. Not for me. Her eyes snapped to his, wide and vulnerable. You don't understand. I left my family because I couldn't face what I'd done. I lost someone, a sister, because of my mistakes. I can't let that happen again. Not with you or Lily. Daniel took a step closer, his voice soft but steady. You're not alone anymore, Anna. Whatever happened, we'll face it together. For Lily. For us. She stared at him, tears spilling over, and in that moment, the walls between them crumbled. She stepped into his arms, her sobs muffled against his chest, and he held her, feeling her heart against his. But what had Anna left behind, and could she truly stay? The truth was waiting closer than either of them realized. Anna's tears soaked into Daniel's shirt as he held her in the dim light of her small apartment. Her confession, I lost someone, a sister, because of my mistakes, hung between them, raw and heavy. Daniel didn't know the details, but the way her body trembled told him enough. Her past was a wound she'd carried alone for too long. He wanted to ask, to understand, but right now, all he could do was hold her, his hand resting gently on her back. For the first time, he felt like he was seeing her, not the quiet nanny or the guarded woman with the notebook, but Anna, real and broken and beautiful. I'm sorry, she whispered, pulling back, her eyes red but steady. I didn't mean to fall apart like that. You don't have to apologize, Daniel said, his voice low. But you don't have to run either. Not from us. She looked at him, searching his face, and for a moment, he thought she might bolt again. But she nodded, wiping her cheeks. I need to tell you something. Not now, but soon. I owe you that. He wanted to press, to know everything, but he saw the fragility in her eyes. When you're ready, he said, squeezing her hand. I'll be here. The next day, Anna returned to the house, her smile tentative but real as Lily barreled into her arms. "You're back," Lily squealed, hugging her tight. "I thought you were gone forever." Anna knelt, brushing a curl from Lily's face. "I'm right here, kiddo. Promise." Daniel watched from the kitchen, his heart easing at the sight. But the weight of Anna's words lingered. She'd lost a sister, blamed herself for it, and it had driven her to leave everything behind. He didn't know what that meant, but he knew it wasn't just her past. It was their future, too. Whatever she was carrying, he wanted to help her shoulder it, not just for Lily, but for the quiet ache in his own chest that grew every time Anna smiled. Over the next few weeks, their routine settled into something new, laced with a cautious closeness. Anna stayed later some nights, sharing takeout with Daniel after Lily was asleep. They talked about small things, Lily's latest art project, Daniel's stressful board meetings, the way Anna could name every constellation in the night sky. But the bigger questions hung unspoken, and Daniel noticed Anna kept the notebook out of sight now, as if guarding it more carefully than ever. One evening, as they sat on the patio with mugs of hot cocoa, Anna broke the silence. "You're different than I thought you'd be," she said, her voice soft. "When I started here, I figured you'd be cold, like most rich guys." Daniel chuckled, leaning back in his chair. "And now, you're kind," she said, her eyes meeting his. "You care about Lily more than anything. And you make me feel safe." Her words hit him harder than he expected, stirring something he hadn't felt since the early days with Claire. But this was different, slower, deeper, built on late-night talks and shared glances rather than fleeting passion. He wanted to tell her that, to say she made him feel alive again, but before he could, she stood, wrapping her arms around herself. "I should go," she said, her voice tight. "It's late." He watched her leave, the moment slipping away, and realized he was falling for her. Not just the idea of her, but the real Anna, flaws, secrets, and all. The truth came out on a chilly November evening. Lily was at a sleepover, and Daniel had invited Anna to stay for dinner, just the two of them. He'd cooked, badly, he admitted, laughing as he scraped overdone chicken from the pan. Anna took over, her movements sure as she salvaged the meal, and soon they were sitting at the dining table, a simple pasta dish between them. "You're not half bad at this," Daniel said, twirling spaghetti on his fork. Anna smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. "My sister taught me," she said, her voice catching. "She was the cook in the family." He set his fork down, sensing the shift. "You mentioned her before. Your sister. Will you tell me about her?" Anna's fingers tightened around her glass, and for a moment, he thought she'd shut down again. But she took a deep breath, her eyes distant. "Her name was Emily. She was 2 years younger than me. We were close like best friends, but I messed it up." She paused, and Daniel waited, his heart pounding. "I was 24, she continued, her voice barely above a whisper. "I was in a bad place, stuck in a dead-end job, fighting with my parents, running with the wrong crowd. Emily tried to pull me out, but I pushed her away. One night, we argued badly. I said things I didn't mean, told her to leave me alone. She stormed out, upset, and she got in a car with a friend who'd been drinking. They crashed. She didn't make it." Anna's voice broke, and she looked down, tears falling onto the tablecloth. "It was my fault. If I hadn't pushed her away, she wouldn't have been in that car. I couldn't face my family after that. I ran, left town, cut everyone off. I've been running ever since." Daniel reached across the table, his hand covering hers. "It wasn't your fault, Anna. You didn't know." "I should have," she said, her voice raw. "I was her big sister. I was supposed to protect her." He stood, moving to her side, and pulled her into a hug. She stiffened at first, then melted against him, her sobs quiet but deep. "You're not that person anymore," he said, his voice steady. "I see you with Lily, with me. You're strong. You're kind. Emily would be proud of you." Anna pulled back, her eyes searching his. "How can you say that?" "You know what I did." "Because I see who you are now," he said, his thumb brushing a tear from her cheek. "And I'm not letting you run from that." For a moment, they stood there, inches apart, the air charged with something unspoken. Then Anna leaned forward, her lips brushing his in a tentative, fleeting kiss. It was over before he could react, but it left his heart racing. I'm sorry, she said, stepping back, her cheeks flushed. I shouldn't have. Don't, he said, his voice gentle but firm. Don't apologize for that. She looked at him, her eyes wide with fear and hope, and nodded. I need time, she whispered. Take all the time you need, he said, meaning it. The weeks that followed were a delicate dance. Anna stayed, but she was cautious, her walls not fully down. Daniel gave her space, focusing on Lily and his work, but he couldn't shake the memory of that kiss. It wasn't just attraction, it was trust, fragile, but growing, built on shared moments and quiet understanding. One afternoon, as winter settled over Connecticut, Anna surprised him. She showed up at the house with a small, wrapped box, her expression nervous but determined. For you, she said, handing it to him. Inside was a leather-bound journal, its cover embossed with his initials. You got a lot going on in that head of yours, she said, a shy smile playing on her lips. Maybe write it down sometime. He laughed, touched by the gesture. Only if you promise to read it. Her smile widened, and for the first time, it felt unburdened. Deal. Lily bounded into the room, breaking the moment, but it didn't matter. The journal was more than a gift. It was Anna's way of saying she was staying, that she was ready to try. They weren't a couple, not yet, but they were something, two people finding their way back to themselves, with Lily as their anchor. Christmas came, and the house was alive with lights and laughter. Anna helped Lily decorate a tree, their chatter filling the air as Daniel watched, his heart full. Later, as they sat by the fire, Lily asleep on the couch, Anna turned to him. I'm not running anymore, she said quietly. But I'm scared. You, Lily. It's more than I thought I'd ever have. Daniel took her hand, his thumb tracing her knuckles. I'm scared too, he admitted. After Claire, I didn't think I'd trust anyone again. But you make me want to try. She squeezed his hand, her eyes shining. Then we'll figure it out. Together. They sat in silence, the fire crackling, the future uncertain but hopeful. There were challenges ahead. Anna's guilt, Daniel's demanding career, the delicate balance of their growing bond. But for now, they had this moment, and it was enough. If this story touched you, comment where you're from and subscribe to the channel.